Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth here. So I hope the elements aren't too strong. We've had some strong winds in Seattle, but I just wanted to do a quick video to share a certain life experience that I had a few years ago. I may have to pull my sunglasses down. I have really sensitive eyes, and with the wind, I just have really sensitivity to really bright light, so I'm probably going to flip them up and down. But anyways, I wanted to just share a little bit of a life experience that I had when I lived in Germany between 2014 and 15. So if you haven't really listened to any of my other videos, health and wellness has been my career path. I was raised as an athlete, and then in college I discovered group fitness, and I really loved going to aerobic classes and yoga classes. And throughout my own personal awakening journeys of living in Australia and doing yoga in India, I just realized like this is really a part of my path. I was always restless, so I just had a natural love and instinct for human movement that included like sports and well-being. And throughout this time there was a lot of personalized awakening and journeying that integrated a lot of the metaphysical. I am an Aquarius, so I'm just naturally into a lot of these certain things. Like I've been reading astrology ever since the age I was 13 to understand, more of the collective energy, not in terms of becoming an astrologer to read a chart. So I naturally advocate for the holistic realm in life. I was raised by parents who gardened. I ate garden produce during the harvest months, and my father started doing a lot of research and on food, and he started swapping us from traditional food to organic food. So we went from like Skippy peanut butter to like your stone ground peanut butter. And as a child, we were like, "Ooh, this is disgusting." Like we just wasted all of this stuff. I had back pain ever since the age of 13, and so at the age of 16 my father took me to physical therapy and to acupuncture. And so these are the things that I've been healed through alternative methods of like yoga and acupuncture and meditation and Reiki and all that stuff. So I'm a big advocate for it. So my experience in Germany is that my ex-husband and I moved there because he won a fellowship, and this fellowship through the Humboldt Foundation was funded through the German government, and that money was reparations for World War II. If I remember correctly, I believe there was like 100 years of reparations to build cross-cultural relationships, and it was primarily given to Americans and Russians. And that year of 2014, Merkel decided to open it up to become a more global research fellowship organization, and opened it up with branches of people to come from China, India, and Brazil. So one of the fellows who was in the fellowship actually he was a young guy. He went right from bachelor's to PhD, and he got his PhD from Johns Hopkins University. And his fellowship, his sponsor was Bayer or Bayer, I don't remember how you say it in German, but the pharmaceutical company Bayer. And he was doing such great work that Bayer said, "Hey, we will give you a job in cancer research. Why don't you leave the fellowship and come with us?" He left the fellowship, but he remained in Germany working for Bayer as a full-time employee on cancer research. While I was living in Germany, Bayer and Monsanto merged, and during this moment was kind of like a big signal in my brain, like this isn't right. So I started reading a little bit more about Monsanto, and at the time I did not realize that Obama signed the Monsanto Protection Act, which actually gave more money to the lobbyists and protected many Democratic and Republican politicians, as well as protected Monsanto. At that time of 2013, I think is when he did it, was to kind of still push Monsanto in the direction of becoming one of the biggest distributors of seeds. It's almost like having a monopoly, right? And this big awakening process it didn't sit well with me. I was like, I voted for Obama. None of this was even remotely liberal. I don't call myself a progressive. I think progress has various different realms on it. What I think is progress is actually a lot different from, the atheist progressive person in politics. But to get back to the story, what was really interesting is the guy who was the cancer researcher who got from Johns Hopkins University, who got the job from Bayer, right as that merge happened, he got let go. And he had to leave Germany because he left the fellowship, and then he got his contract canceled. So basically he just got fired from his job, had to go back to America. And you want to know the reason why Monsanto let him go? Monsanto told him that they do not support cancer researchers. They do not support cancer research jobs, so they will not fund his position, and he no longer had a job. So he got completely screwed out of the whole experience on both ends of the spectrum. What is so alarming about that is a couple things. 3 years prior, in 2012, that was my first time of going to Europe, and my ex was very much into German and Russian history. If you believe in things like the past life stuff, there's a whole layer of story in there, but like there was something so strong about World War II and just war history in my ex's kind of life experience, that it was just naturally ingrained for him to go to Germany to do something better in this life, and to leave the German culture and society in a better way that he did many decades ago in a former life. Let's put it that way. I know my viewership is somewhere on the spiritual spectrum, other people on the logical spectrum. And when I spoke with this cancer researcher, let's go back. So in 2012, when I went to Germany for the first time, before that I visited Auschwitz, and that really, my family survived World War II, so it was this kind of really weird experience. It was also slightly healing as well. But when you go through the museum, I remember taking a photograph, and it was the old canisters of Zyklon B, and I didn't really know a whole lot about that at the time. And as I started to research this after our friend got let go from his job, I realized that Bayer was already rooted back to World War II through IG Farben, which was kind of like the main pharmaceutical company, and then Bayer was like a branch of it. And I'm like, none of this is right, because I've known this in my whole career, that the FDA, the pharmaceuticals, the mass promotion of chemicals and injections in your body is not normal. It does the opposite of healing. Oh, hold on. This is 14. Yeah. So somebody, some delivery guy was just right behind walking up. Anyways, so with our former friend, whatever, from the cancer researcher, I had a conversation with him once about cancer, and he said that cancer is very individualized. So if you have 60,000 cases of lung cancer, that means there are 60,000 types of cancer. Now in Germany, I tried to apply for the same fellowship for alternative cancer research, because Germany and Switzerland, they have a lot of these like retreat or alternative hospitals that treat cancer from alternative perspectives. Some of them still use low-grade drugs, but they don't drug them up with like chemotherapy and load the body with toxic chemicals, but they go through a healing process of understanding your psychological and mental state. They want to look at what is going on in your life at that current point in time of when dis-ease happened. They look at your nutritional habits, and then, they talk about the more spiritual well-being. So there was a whole component that was very integrative and holistic in general that looked at the physical, mental, emotional, and kind of that psychosomatic type of body. So it really, from the alternative cancer research perspective, is that it's not a disease, it's a dis-ease of the person. And all of this acidic the acidicness, or the kind of like acidosis in the body. When your body is out of its pH and is in the more acidic state of being, that's where disease and just disease starts to harvest itself, because it's damaged tissue. It's no good tissue. That's why in your pH, in harmony, you want to eat a lot more alkaline to keep your body at that state of homeostasis, kind of at your balance point. So a lot of things, when you're looking at the acidic part of the body, it comes through a lot of processed food, fast food, either alcohol, substances, smoking. Obviously, a lot of negative thoughts are very toxic for the body. So all of these things play a big role and a factor. So now that we're seeing Monsanto become these bigger and bigger and bigger organizations to try to really promote GMO farming, it's really, really scary. And it makes me so mad, because it is not progress. It's the same crap that's been happening since World War II, and maybe even before that. If you start to look at the amount of medical experiments and the amount of poisoning that has happened in the mid-century of America, or just the world in general, you understand how frustrating it is. It is not progress. I'm going to do a separate video on the question, what is progress? But when you look at Monsanto, they were even linked to the Vietnam War with Agent Orange. So we have to sit here and question, are these companies really in a more ethical state of being just because we're in modern society and we're not slaughtering everybody like it's the Viking times? You know, we're not raping, pillaging, and plundering on a mass scale. These things are still happening, but it's not an everyday thing that happened, you know, back in like the 800s or the 1500s. I personally don't think they've moved from an ethical state. I think if they knew what they were doing 80 years ago in the 1940s, when technology wasn't even as advanced as it is now, of course they know. There's been numerous documentaries, or just even videos and interviews with doctors out there that say, like, Big Pharma and the FDA, it's just like a boys club. You know, you move from the FDA to Big Pharma and vice versa, or Big Pharma to the FDA. So it's just this big boys club of a circle of people that just are all, you know, have their hands deep in pockets of money and the protection of each other, all for the sake of well-being, of making money and keeping you sick and keeping you poisoned. And this will be a separate video, but when you start to look at the history of America of being poisoned, from Teflon pans to GMO seeds, you know, spraying Agent Orange, God, what else has there been? Everything, chemical, fluoride in the water, glyphosate now is a big part of everyday processed carbohydrate food. All corn in America is from GMO seeds. We are literally being poisoned from the inside out. And this is the cycle of everything being interconnected. Darkness and evil is interconnected. So the sicker you are, the more you need the hospitals, the more you're codependent on the doctors, you're codependent on the drugs and the medicine. And you feel like shit, so you're gonna eat like shit, you're gonna become sedentary. It's all interconnected. Wellness is interconnected on the other end of the spectrum. When you feel good, you want to eat good, you think better about yourself, you know, look good, feel good, all of that stuff is interconnected. There's no negative self-talk and self-hate. So I just wanted to share that experience because it is important. I'm not saying I'm nobody. I've done some great things in my career, but I am just a normal Midwesterner who's had some interesting life experiences, all because I believe in a higher power, in God, and I ask them for life experience. I ask for the divine to show me the truth, and eventually I see the truth on some different levels. I don't know why my life path is this way, but, you know, I am very passionate about fitness and nutrition, or just wellness in general. I'm very passionate about alternative wellness because not only have I pulled myself out of a rut, but other people have. Dr. Furman was... he healed himself through an injury that inspired him to become a medical doctor who bases his life on whole food type of nutrition called the G bombs, which is like greens, berries, onions, mushrooms, seeds. I can't remember what the other B is off the top of my head anyways. But he is advocating as a doctor for the holistic natural side, which is being suppressed at this very point in time. So thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing. If you have any thoughts or comments on this, feel free. But as we move forward in society, with people injecting themselves with chemicals, with people eating more fast food, we're at a point where it's like you just have to surrender and let go and let people choose their way, unless they actually try to seek the help. Because how much more scientific studies do we have to show, and how many more documentaries do we have to have in order for people to wake up and realize this crap that you're eating and that you're injecting yourself with and numbing your emotions through the consumption of alcohol and drugs? None of that is for your higher better. It's to keep you enslaved in this negative spiral in life. All right, thank you so much. It's so windy. I'm distracted from the wind. So anywho, I'm gonna go. Bye-bye.